All right, let's talk some more about Measure 110 and more specifically, the money from the state's marijuana tax that's used to fund drug treatment programs under 110. The bottom line, when 110 passed, it slashed pot tax money that was going to cities and counties and the state police. And guess what? Now they want some of it back. But before we crunch numbers, let's review the adventures of Measure 110. A recent state audit of Measure 110 showed a financial black hole. It showed that over 2 years, more than $300 million in marijuana taxes were diverted to Measure 110 programs, and $32 million in access to care grants was given out by the Oregon Health Authority on top of that. But the audit found the OHA did not track how that money was spent, or really if there was any concrete evidence that the money had helped people addicted to drugs. Last week, the OHA sent out a press release with a nice headline that said Measure 110 funds had helped 60,000 Oregonians. But if you're a loyal viewer, you know that we are just a little bit skeptical about that 60,000 number. And you know what? It appears lawmakers in Salem a little skeptical too. They've started debating whether or not to send an extra $26 million every 2 years back to those cities and counties and the state police. And they would do it through a bill known as House Bill 2089. It has nothing to do with the legalization or user amounts of hard drugs that Measure 110 provided. It's all about the money and possibly moving more of that marijuana tax money back to the groups that got it before 110 passed. The bill would take a total of $58 million a year and give it to the cities, counties, and the state police to use as they see fit. That'd be about $26 million more per year than they get now. That would still leave an estimated $141 million a year for Measure 110 programs. So, I know that is a ton of numbers. If you're an accountant, you probably love that. If you're like me, it's like, whoa. But that's often what these revenue committee meetings and bills are all about. Numbers, money, yes, revenue, and marijuana taxes for this one. Let's take a look at the graphic they showed that illustrates how marijuana tax money would have been distributed before Measure 110 and after it passed. So the blue bars on your screen, they represent how many millions of dollars in marijuana tax money would have gone to certain groups over the last 2 years if we pretend that Measure 110 did not shift money and where it went. The orange bars show how Measure 110 actually was spent and how it changed that amount. Now, some of the numbers may not be exact, but you get the idea here. Counties, cities, state police took a pretty sizable hit. New drug treatment there on the bottom, well, that grew like crazy. And 110 set a cap stating that all those groups could only share a maximum of $90 million every 2 years, and all the money left over would go to that 110 new drug treatment fund. So instead of $31 million, the cities and counties for 2 years only got $9 million. State police, $13.5 million instead of $47 million every 2 years. And schools got less than a third of what they would have received. But $221 million over 2 years went towards Measure 110's new drug treatment fund. This graph gives you another idea of who the big losers were. These are amounts that were cut from various programs by that $90 million biannual cap. Schools there on the blue on the right, they lost the most, followed by mental health funding, state police, cities and counties, and then substance abuse prevention. And the House Committee on Revenue noted that some people were surprised by the funding changes brought on by Measure 110, but others not so much because they understood early on the money had to come from somewhere. So this new bill now is going to try to send money back to cities and counties and the state police. It would also cut all the pot tax funding for schools and mental health and for the Oregon Health Authority. They argue that those schools now have separate billion-dollar-a-year tax fund and that they don't need that money, and that mental health is still getting funded under Measure 110 money. Those against the change say it's going to be awful for the current programs. Those who support it say it's common sense. We will keep an eye on it and let you know what happens.